Hey, what is up guys? Welcome to another Leet code video. Today we're going to be looking at problem number 234. That is the palindrome linked list problem. Let's take a look. So, given the head of a singly linked list, return true if it is a palindrome or false otherwise. And we are given the example right here. Input head 1221, that is true. And input 12, it is false. So just as a reminder, a palindrome is a sequence of characters or integers that reads the same read backwards and forwards. So in this case, we're taking a look at a linked list with data integers as its value, and we're checking if it reads the same backwards and forwards. So right off the bat, when we start thinking about how to approach this problem, we want to store the values inside this linked list. Now to do this, we're going to use a vector. And once we've stored the values into that vector, we then can iterate through the vector, analyzing the first instance and the last digit and comparing them one another. So to do this, I'm going to start by declaring vector int, and we're just going to call this my vector. And we're going to also initialize a node to traverse the list with. So I'm going to do list node, and we're going to call our pointer ptr, and we're going to make this equal to head. I'm also going to start a boolean called tf, and then we're just going to make this equal to true. The reason we want to make a boolean is so that if at any point our boolean is equal to false, and we'll get to that in a bit, we will exit the loop through which we're going to iterate through our vector and check if it really is a palindrome once we're comparing them to one another. So first off, I want to do a while loop, and we're just going to use this while loop to traverse through the linked list and store each one of those values into a vector. So we're going to do while ptr does not equal null, and we're going to open those brackets, and we're just going to do my vector dot pushback, and the pushback function is to basically place that value, that integer value, to the end of our vector. And we're going to use ptr value. So we're grabbing that integer and placing it to the end of our vector. Okay, and next up, we just want to do ptr equals ptr next. What this is doing is just moving us along the linked list. So if we imagine over here a linked list, every time we do ptr next, the next value right here, so this holds a number, and this holds let's say another different number. So when we do ptr next, we're just iterating through each one. We're saying our pointer ptr, which is pointing to the first one, aka it's pointing to the head, as we made it equal ptr equals to head. When we do ptr equals ptr next, we're just saying, okay, now ptr right here, now you're equal to the value of whatever that nodes that you're pointing at to the next. So in this case, I'm pointing to this node. Now ptr is equal to the next one, and it's going to keep going, so on and so forth. Okay, so next up, I want to be able to compare the last digit to the first digit, the second digit to the second to last digit. To be able to do that, I'm going to start an integer, call it int c, and this is going to equal to my vector, oops, forgot the y there, dot size, what's an ugly size, dot size, and we're going to make this equal -1. The reason we want to do -1 is because when we create a vector, the integer value of the first instance of that vector is actually 0. So we actually start counting 0, 1, 2, 3. That's why we're going to do -1, so we get the actual size, the actual last digit of that vector. And so now that I have this integer, I can use this to compare it to the first instance of my vector. So for that, I'm just going to do a for loop. I'm just going to change up the colors a little bit. We're going to do for, I'm going to declare a new variable int I equals to 0. And as long as I is less than my vector size and I plus plus. Okay, so next up, we're just going to compare the integers at the beginning versus the ones at the end till we reach the middle and inevitably make sure we've gone through every single digit. So we're going to do if my vector at position I is not equal to my vector at position C, then we're going to make our boolean that we initialized in the beginning to false. So tf is equal to false, and then we're just going to return that boolean. We're going to close up. And last off, we're just going to do C minus minus. This is to make sure that we're also subtracting 1 off of the last one. So we keep going through each one of the last integers. And at the same time, with our for loop, we're adding 1 to the beginning, making sure we're going through all of them, comparing all of our integers. And so to finish off, we're just going to return tf. So if at no point do we find that our values don't match to each other, we're just going to return that initial boolean, which is going to be equal to true. As far as space complexity, we're really only using ON as well. N being the amount of nodes that are in the list and then storing them into our vector. Anyways, guys, that's been all for today's Leet code video. If you guys have any questions or comments below, please let me know if you guys want me to go over a specific problem, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.